Hello and welcome. I am Laura Radnicki of lauraradnicki.com, a craft site with fast, fun, and easy craft tutorials. And the best part is there is no perfection required here. So we are working through our way through the 30 days of Ornaments project. We are making an ornament a day for 30 days, and today is day 23. So we are making a book page petal flower ornament today. And it doesn't have to be book pages. If you want to use just construction paper or cardstock or old maps or whatever you have, you can. But I love to read, and I love old book pages for crafts. Some people feel like it's desecrating old books, but I feel like you're saving it from the recycling bin. So I think it's like giving new life. It's upcycling them. And the thrift store is full of books. I actually have gotten most of my books that I use for crafts from a free box in the doorway of my local library. So they definitely would have been recycled if I didn't save them. So I ripped out a few pages from one of those books that I'm going to use in this craft. And I also have an old church hymnal that I use, and we used that earlier in this series for a book page tassel ornament. And I think that that's a really fun type of paper to use for projects. So here are our supplies for today's book page petal flower ornament. So we need paper. So my book page is here. We need to have, I'm going to use a button, a big button as the center of my flower. We need scissors and hot glue. I have a piece of twine for my hanging string. And then what you need is a circle to use as your guide. So I'm using this speaker. It's maybe 4 inches in diameter. If you want to make a bigger flower, you need a bigger bowl to trace or circle to trace. If you want to make a smaller one, you can use a smaller circle. So if you want to just draw a circle, that's fine too. But this lets me make sure that it's actually circular shape. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to trace this and cut out circles. So I just put it on my book page and I traced it and then cut it out. And so I did that ahead of time here. I got 2 circles per page. And so I cut out, I think, probably 10 of them, but I think we need to use 8 for the petals and then 1 for the base. And if you want to use like cardboard or something for the base, you can too. The base you're not going to be able to see because it's going to be covered up with petals, but I'm just going to use one of my circles as the base. So we cut out our petals. Hot glue gun is hot. I'm going to set that aside, and then we are going to get started. So the general way that we make our petals, we take a circle. The first thing you do is you fold it in half. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take the half and we're going to fold it in thirds. So like 1, 2, but we're going to fold, here's our half moon. We're going to fold 1 part up and 1 part down. And so we're going to end up with a little tiny pie shape that kind of flares out. So again, 1 goes to the front, 1 goes to the back, or 1 goes to the top, 1 goes to the bottom. It doesn't really matter how you want to explain it. But we're folding it kind of almost like an accordion. So that's the way that we're going to make our petals. And then what we'll do, and what we'll end up doing, is gluing our petals around the, I don't know if you guys can see that, it might be too bright. But we're going to be gluing these petals around the book page. And then at the end, we will attach the button right in the center. And so what we want to do when we glue them is we're not going to make them totally perfectly flat. We want them to be a little bit, we want them to stand up a little bit so that our final flower has a little dimension to it. But so the first thing I want to do is just fold. I want to fold and glue, prepare my petals. So I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue in the folding process. So first I want to fold it so I know where I'm folding. I'm going to put a teeny tiny dot in the middle of my paper just so that it will stay. That's kind of my anchor. Next, I want to fold in my paper, but I'm going to glue each fold. So I think it's easier if you fold it first so that you have your creases, but then you're going to actually glue and then fold. But as you get more used to it, maybe you don't need to fold it first. So this is my first fold. I'm going to take one edge and fold it to the top. So I want to put a little drop of glue down here by the point. Just a little dab. And I'm going to fold it over and kind of hold it there. I don't want to glue this top rounded section because that's where I want it to fan out. So if I would glue that, it would be perfectly flat there, and I don't want it. I want that to have the ability to kind of flare out. So it's glued now at the bottom, kind of where my fingers are, down by the point. Now I want to glue this section to the bottom. So I'm actually going to turn it over just for the sake of gluing it and not burning my finger. But I'm going to do another drop of glue and the same thing. Hold it. So now I have my little pie shape, and it's glued down here where my fingers are, and it's open here, and I can kind of flare it out if I want. So I need to make 8 of these petals. So I'm going to repeat that process with the circles here until I have made, you don't need 8, you only need 6. So we're gonna just make 5 more of them. So I'll just make 5. And for this one, I'm going to actually experiment with not putting glue in the middle as I fold it. I don't maybe need to do that step. So I'm going to just experiment and see what the finished thing looks like if I just glue down at my point. 2 different glue spots on my point, leaving it open up here. And that should be just fine. So we don't actually need to glue it in the middle of each circle. We can just fold it there. All right, so I have made 6. I have made 6 petals. And so I need 6 petals for 1 flower. And that makes sense because we folded it in half, and then we folded our half into thirds. So that's where we get 6 from. So what we want to do is we're going to put glue along the bottom and glue our bottom around, basically as if we were making a full pizza. So we're going to just put each one, line it up there, and place them around the circle. Now this one ended up not having any text on that side, so I'm going to put that side down because I like the text on the pages and I want my flower to have the book page text. So if any of yours, if you like a certain side better than the other, you can choose which side you want to be visible. Okay, so I have hot glue gun strings everywhere. I glued all 6 down, and as you can see, I kind of make sure that because we pushed the center down and kept the ends fluffy, our flower, the petals kind of are bushing out and the center is sunken in almost. So I really like that. So now we're going to take our button and glue that right in the middle. Okay, so then the last thing to do is attach our hanging string. Now, I'm going to take my twine, and I have 2 different thicknesses. I have thin twine and thick twine, and I'm going to see what I like better. I actually think I like my thick twine better for this one, so I'm going to use that for my hanging string. I think it balances out this big flower a little bit better. That's totally just my preference, so use what you have. Okay, so I'm going to tie a knot at the top, and then I have my string here. Now I have some extra circles. So there's a few different options here depending on what you have available. So I wasn't sure how many I would need, so clearly I cut extra. But one thing you could do is you could just glue this twine to the back and call it good. Your ornament could be done. The other option, if you had cardboard, if this was a little bit flimsy for you, you could glue your twine down and then put cardboard on the back to kind of reinforce it. But mine really isn't that bad. Even though it's just paper and it's just one layer, it still is pretty thick. They're pretty sturdy. But I am going to use one of my extra papers here. I'm going to glue my twine down, and then I'm going to glue another circle on top. And it will be a little bumpy where the twine is underneath, but then I won't see it, and it will kind of help hide it. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue. Now, you can kind of look at your flower and determine if you like one way up. I think maybe it looks best that way, but it really does not matter. I'm going to put a little glue there on the back and put my hanging string in it. Then I'm going to put more glue on the back and attach my other string. Sorry, my other circle. I'm looking right at the string. Attach the second circle. So once I think that it's dry enough, I'm going to flip it over and kind of push it down because I want to really adhere those two circles together. And then when we're done, we can also fluff up the petals a little bit more. All right. So I'm going to take my petals and kind of fluff them up just a little bit more. So there's a little more dimension to my finished flower. And this whole process works amazing with fabric too. I have made all kinds of things with fabric flowers. And so that's actually what I made before I tried it with paper. And it obviously works with paper, but it can work with fabric too. So you can use pretty much any kind of fabric you want. Same thing, I always put the button in the middle as the little center. So you could make this version with fabric too. But there you go. And so I'm going to have pictures of this because I think it's kind of hard to see with the lighting, but it looks kind of bright. But it is super, super cute. And if I wanted to, I could even try to bend, with paper, it's a little bit, you have to worry about it ripping. And as I said in one of my other videos for a different ornament, sometimes you got to just leave well enough alone, because if you keep messing with it, that's when I sometimes rip it or kind of wreck it. So I'm going to stop messing with it now, but you can play with it a little bit, trying to add a little more maybe shape or make it a little more 3D. But super cute book page petal flower ornament for today. So I want to invite you guys to check out the Mama Makers Club. That is our craft community. It's totally free on our site. And if you sign up for that, you get access to our free resource library. And our free resource library is a continually growing library of resources for you, printable patterns for the tutorials on our site, downloadable checklists that help you make the projects faster and easier. All of it is just designed to help you make more crafts, just to get you crafting and making things, because ultimately that's the whole goal of why we're here. So I would love to have you join us there. Check it out at lauraradnicki.com/library to see if you think it might be a good fit for you. And if it is, I'd love to have you join us there. So that's it for today. I will see you next time for day 24 of our 30 Days of Ornaments project. We are just trucking along, getting kind of close to the end here. We just have a few more left. I hope you guys have had fun with this. I have really had fun. It's been so fun coming up with these and making them with you. So I hope you'll tune in next time, and I will see you then. Bye.